somewhere between earth and sky. There are places where people don't just endure the fog, they live inside it. From mountaintop farms blanketed in mist to valleys where the sun never fully breaks through, entire communities have made the cloud their home. To them, fog isn't a nuisance or just bad weather. It's water, it's life, it's sacred. This is the story of people who read the clouds like scripture, who build bridges from living roots, who hear spirits whisper in drifting vapor. Welcome to the Fog Tribes, where the air is thick with wonder and the line between seen and unseen disappears. Our journey begins in the hills of Meghalaya, India, a land whose very name means the abode of clouds. Here, in the emerald folds of the Shillong Plateau, the Khasi people have built a way of life not just in the rain, but with it. In places like Cherrapunji and Mawsynram, the clouds don't just pass by. They crash against ancient hills like ocean waves, pouring down more than 400 inches of rain a year. But the Khasi don't resist the fog. They welcome it, like an old friend. Their villages rise gently from the morning mist, bamboo homes on stilts standing like sentinels in the clouds. It's as if the ancestors themselves are drifting between the trees, guiding the air. Children here grow up learning to read the mist, how it moves, how it hides, how it suddenly reveals an entire valley in a single breath of wind. And from this fog, they build wonders. The Khasi are famous for their living root bridges, woven not from rope or metal, but from the guided roots of ancient fig trees. These bridges don't take months to build. They take decades, growing stronger with each monsoon, as if nature and community are co-architects. This is not construction, this is devotion. Women here hold the lineage, passing down not only land and names, but the knowledge of rain and cloud, the secrets of wild herbs, and the art of cloud watching. Even in the heaviest downpour, their markets bloom. Umbrellas like bright petals shielding baskets of black sesame, bamboo shoots and honey, gathered from forests that never see full sunlight. In sacred groves called Law Kintang, towering trees vanish into vapor above, while roots sip from streams that never dry. These forests are not silent. They breathe with the rhythm of mist. And yet, even here, roads come. Concrete rises. The outside world presses in. But during the monsoon, when the fog becomes so dense that time itself seems to dissolve, the old ways remain. Because for the Khasi, mist isn't something to escape. It's home, it's memory, it's the breath of the land itself. But the fog doesn't belong to Asia alone. Thousands of miles away, high in the Andes, it takes on a new voice, softer maybe, but no less sacred. This is where the Ketwa people live. Perched on cliffs above the Amazon basin, their world floats between earth and sky. They call it the cloud forest. And here, they've learned to farm the fog itself. Their villages cling to mountainsides so steep, they look like they've been brushed onto the landscape. Stone terraces scale the slopes like stairways to the sky. Each level becomes a tiny climate of its own, where warm valley winds meet cold mountain breath, and clouds are born right in front of your eyes. They plant potatoes at altitudes where no potato should grow. Corn grows just above the tree line, where sunlight flickers and disappears. Llamas graze on grass soaked in cloud water, dew that never dries. In the mornings, families step from their homes into a world freshly painted by mist. Fields appear, then vanish. Paths fade into nothing, then return. But the Quechua aren't lost. They've been walking in fog for generations. They know what the air is telling them. And their knowledge goes deeper than maps or weather charts ever could. They know which orchids only bloom inside thick cloud, which vines heal wounds, and which fruits will ripen, even if they never feel a ray of sun. Their shamans, Alto Misayok, speak with the mountain spirits, the Apus, not by climbing above the clouds, but by entering them. They believe the mist carries messages, that in its folds are fortunes and warnings, if you know how to listen. The Spanish once called this land montaña, not quite jungle, not quite mountain, something in between, something mysterious. And even now, as roads wind higher and towns light up distant valleys, the cloud forests still hold their secrets. GPS stops working, directions disappear, but the Quechua don't need either. In a land where everything vanishes into vapor and returns just as suddenly, they walk with certainty. They are the cloud farmers, the mist readers, the keepers of a world where altitude isn't just elevation, it's a way of life. Follow the fog deeper, down from the cliffs and terraces into the heart of the Amazon. Here, in the twilight forests of Ecuador, the Wani people live in a world where the line between earth and sky has completely dissolved. This isn't the Amazon you've seen in postcards, bright, steamy, drenched in light. This is a jungle wrapped in silence, where mornings arrive cloaked in mist that rises from rivers like memory, where the canopy is so thick, even midday feels like dusk. The Wani don't walk through this fog, they move with it. Their homes perch just above the waterline, small clearings along rivers that look like mirrors, reflecting skies they rarely see. In the morning, howler monkeys roar through the clouds, their voices rolling like thunder through air thick enough to taste. And at night, bats emerge from unseen treetops, wings slicing through the fog like soft knives in velvet. The Wani hunt with blowguns, sending poison-tipped darts through mist so dense the prey often vanishes mid-step. But the Wani have learned to see what others can't. A snapped twig, a shift in the cloud, a bird's cry pitched just slightly wrong. In this world, invisibility is not an obstacle, it's a language. They track by sound, by breath, by the way the forest feels when something is near. Their shamans don't escape this fog to reach other realms. They go deeper into it, guided by ayahuasca, visions, and ancestral memory. For the Wani, the mist is not just atmosphere, it's spirit, a living veil that both reveals and protects. But like the fog itself, this way of life is under threat. Roads arrive, dragging oil rigs and logging camps behind them, bringing the hiss of chainsaws into forests that once only knew wind and water. Some Wani youths drift toward city lights, toward noise and neon, leaving behind the soft quiet of home. Yet still, in the deep places where the fog never truly lifts, where rivers murmur and trees breathe, the old ways endure. Because for the Wani, mist is not weather. It's the breath of the forest, the soul of the trees, a world that hides, not to be forgotten, but to be remembered by those who never stopped listening. Drift westward across the Pacific, past the coastlines of South America, past the shifting tides of memory, until you reach the remote island of Siberut, where the Indian Ocean kisses the dense green of Sumatra. Here the fog returns, but not just from the clouds, from the sea. The Mentawai people live in a world where ocean mist and rainforest vapor dance together, a slow, swirling waltz of salt and soil. This isn't a tropical paradise in the way travel brochures promise. There are no white sand cliches here. Instead, the islands seem to float, wrapped in cloud, shrouded in green, hidden from time. In the early morning, the Mentawai longhouses, rise from the forest like wooden ships in a foggy harbor. Built on stilts, they appear to hover, suspended in silence. The mist drapes itself over everything. Carved totems, swaying palm fronds, the shoulders of elders gathering by the fire. Inside, the walls are built to breathe. Fog flows through the cracks like a guest, not an intruder. Children play in pathways that vanish just a few steps ahead. Dogs bark at shadows that might be trees, or might not. Nothing is certain here, except that the mist is always watching. The Mentawai hunt in silence. Wild pigs and birds emerge like half-formed thoughts from the gray. A blink too slow, and they're gone again. Every step sinks softly into ground so damp, it exhales beneath your feet. Arrows fly through air thick enough to catch. And their shamans, body-painted, soul-attuned, read the fog like a book of omens. They know which trees the mist loves, and which ones it avoids. But the outside world is pushing closer. Tourists arrive with cameras that can't focus in the haze. Roads snake deeper into the jungle, carving straight lines through landscapes that were never meant to be linear. Some Mentawai trade their fog-bound for concrete walls in coastal towns. But the air there feels too thin, the sun too harsh. Because once you've lived in cloud and shadow, daylight feels loud. Still, deep in Siberut's green heart, where forest vapor and sea fog fold together like breath and memory, the old life remains. The Mentawai are still here, people of the eternal mist, proof that some worlds are meant to be half hidden. From the cloud-wrapped islands of Siberut, we climb once more into the highlands of Sulawesi, where morning mist spills over volcanic peaks like smoke from the spirit world. This is the land of the Toraja, a people who build their homes where clouds settle low, and where life and death are woven into the fog itself. Their villages perch on mountain ridges, houses with boat-shaped roofs rising like wooden prayers into the sky. At dawn, the world unveils itself in slow motion. The first light doesn't pierce the fog, it filters through it. Rice terraces appear like green stairways to the heavens. Bamboo groves shimmer through the haze, and coffee trees, wet with mist, breathe the same air as the ancestors. The fog is not just a backdrop, it's a presence, a witness to everything. And here, death is not an end, it's a ceremony. One that stretches across days, sometimes weeks, with buffalo sacrifices, carved wooden effigies, and chants that rise into the mist like smoke toward the gods. The dead are not buried right away. They are kept, honored, remembered, because the Toraja believe the spirit must be ready, and the mist must be just right for the journey to begin. In cliffside caves, wooden Tautau guardians stand watch, gazing down over valleys that disappear into white. They don't just represent the ancestors, they are the ancestors, watching, listening, wrapped in the same clouds that once cradled their lives. Their faith, Aluk sees divinity in the weather itself. The clouds aren't random, they're messages. Shamans read the mist like scripture, guiding planting seasons, funerals, and prayers according to its rhythm. Because in a land where mountains rise and vanish like thoughts, the fog becomes both veil and revelation. And yet, as always, the modern world arrives. Roads crawl up the highlands. Electricity flickers through villages once lit only by fire and moonlight. Some young Toraja chase city dreams, trading the soft twilight of home for bright lights and busy lives. But still, in the cool arms of the morning fog, the ancient ways linger. Tongkonan houses still rise through the mist. Rice terraces still float like green islands in a sea of white. And the Toraja remain, artists of elevation, architects of afterlife, keepers of a truth written not in stone, but in cloud. The fog carries us west, across the Indian Ocean, beyond rivers and deserts, until it finds home again in the highlands of East Africa. Welcome to the Taita Hills of Kenya. Here, green ridges rise like ancient ribs from the dry savanna. And while the plains below thirst under the African sun, the mountains drink from the sky. These hills don't just catch the clouds, they hold them. And nestled within them are the Taita people, whose lives have long been shaped by this rare, quiet rain. Each morning begins with mystery. The shambas, small hillside farms, emerge slowly, peeled from the fog like secrets revealed only to those who wait. Banana leaves glisten with dew. Coffee trees appear like ghosts, then settle into view. Paths disappear 5 steps ahead, turning every walk into something half dream, half pilgrimage. Children head to school through air thick with cloud, giggling as their voices vanish into the mist. Their homes, built of stone and thatch, seem to breathe. They were designed not to block the fog, but to welcome it in. In kitchen gardens, women grow vegetables in soil fed not just by rain, but by the constant kiss of cloud moisture. The men tend ancient terraces, curved plots that catch not just water, but fog itself. And above them all, on the highest ridgelines where the air turns glassy and still, rise the sacred forests, figgies, groves so old, no one remembers who planted them. These are more than ecosystems. They are temples. Here, traditional healers still gather plants that grow only in mist. Remedies passed down from fog to fog, breath to breath. The Taita believe their clouds carry more than water. They carry memory and meaning. But the balance is fragile. Tea plantations have crept into cloud forest edges. Roads now cut through slopes where only footpaths once wandered. Some Taita youth trade these gray mornings for city skylines. Nairobi, Mombasa, where sun floods the streets and fog is nothing but a weather report. And the elders whisper, the figs are thirsty, the mist comes late, it leaves too early. Yet even now, when dawn rolls up from the coast and wraps these hills in its soft embrace, the fog still remembers the way. And so do the Taita. People of the cloud-kissed peaks, farmers of elevation, guardians of a truth that lives between earth and sky, and only ever reveals itself in whispers. Cross the ocean again, this time to South America, not to the Amazon's vast green lungs, but to a forest once just as immense, now reduced to fragments, still breathing in the mist. This is the Atlantic forest, and within its fading embrace live the Guarani people. Their mornings begin like prayers. Fog rises from the jungle floor like a spirit returning home, curling between trees so tall their tops vanish into cloud. This isn't a place of spectacle, it's a place of softness, a quiet world where the air always feels wet with memory. The Guarani don't build cities, they build clearings, places where the fog pools like water and the land opens just wide enough for life to begin. Their homes, woven from bamboo, breathe with the mist. Walls not meant to shut out the world, but to blend into it. Smoke from cooking fires mingles with the morning haze until it's impossible to tell where human presence ends and forest atmosphere begins. They farm their three sisters, corn, beans, squash, not just by season, but by the rhythm of the fog. Some clearings stay misty too long. Some dry just in time for corn to rise. The Guarani know the difference. Children learn to walk by feel, their tiny feet tracing paths that vanish into gray nothing. And yet they don't lose their way. Because to grow up Guarani is to know that direction isn't always about sight. It's about rhythm, about listening. Their shamans walk between worlds, both mist and spirit. At dawn, when the fog is thickest, they pray to Nandaru, the great creator, whose voice is carried not in thunder, but in cloud and wind. In these moments, the forest breathes with them. The leaves drip blessings. The birds call like echoes from older times. But this forest, this sacred place, is shrinking. Soy fields now border the fog. Cattle pastures press in. Many Guarani have been relocated to dry lands, places where the mist doesn't gather, where the air feels sharp and thin, like something is missing. And it is. Because the Guarani know some plants only grow in cloudlight, some medicines only work when fed by mist, and some wisdom can only be whispered through fog that never fully lifts. Yet still, in the surviving fragments of the Atlantic forest, where the trees vanish skyward and prayers rise with the morning haze, the Guarani endure. They are the people who live in the breath of forests, who understand that mist is not something that hides, but something that reveals, only to those willing to wait and listen. From the shrinking fog of Brazil, we travel east, across the globe and back into density, to Borneo, an island where the clouds don't just rest on the mountaintops, they wrap them. Here in the highlands above the steamy jungles below, the Dayak people live in a world suspended between visibility and myth. Their longhouses, rumah panjang, stretch across ridgelines like wooden bridges, stilts vanishing into white nothingness. From a distance, they seem to float, untethered, like dreams anchored in cloud. The Dayak are a people of the mist. They plant hill rice on terraces carved from the mountain, harvesting not only with sun and rain, but by listening to the moods of the fog. Some mornings, the entire landscape disappears. Children learn to walk with memory more than sight. They grow up reading mist like scripture. knowing which veils bring water and which are simply air holding its breath. The Dayak don't fear the fog, they trust it. Their shamans hold ceremonies on mountaintops veiled in cloud, where the spirits of ancestors live in silence, and where every gust of wind is a whisper from the past. When visibility drops to nothing, when the forest becomes pure abstraction, that's when the spirits are closest. And yet, even here, where the mists seem eternal, the world is shifting. Logging roads now bite into ancient forest. Palm oil plantations advance, replacing green mystery with brutal order. Some Dayak youth leave, drawn to the bright certainty of cities, where the streets are straight and nothing ever vanishes into fog. But deep in the mountains, where the longhouses still float in a sea of cloudlight, the old life holds. Rice still ripens beneath unseen sun. Ceremonies still rise with the mist, and the Dayak remain, guardians of hidden mountains, protectors of a landscape where the sacred isn't built, it's breathed. Because here, in the Highlands of Borneo, mist isn't mystery, it's memory made visible. Slip north across island chains, from the shrouded highlands of Borneo to the forgotten ridges of Palawan in the western Philippines. Here, the Batak people live in silence so complete it almost hums. They are forest walkers, fog followers, nomads of mist. Their bamboo shelters appear and vanish with the clouds, flickering in and out of view like half-formed thoughts. At dawn, the smoke from their campfires drifts upward, merging with the low-hanging clouds until you can't tell which is weather and which is prayer. The Batak live lightly. No stone, no cement, no loud permanence. Just structures that breathe with the forest and vanish with it. They follow the bees, climbing trees that disappear into gray-white sky, hands reaching into hives hidden in fog-wrapped canopies. They gather almachiga resin from shadowed trunks, harvest ferns and vines that only grow in places where the sun is more suggestion than presence. Their world is perpetual twilight, and for the Batak, fog is not just background, it's medicine. A living cure that's breathed in, absorbed through skin, wrapped around bones. Their healers don't fight the mist, they listen to it. Because in these cloud forests, silence isn't empty. It's full of signs, of shifts, of stories too soft to be spoken aloud. But the forest is changing. Logging roads cut deeper, settlements press closer. Some Batak drift toward coastal towns, trading gray for gold, trading cloud for concrete. And yet, in the high places, where trails dissolve into mystery and trees blur into sky, the old ways hold, quietly, without ceremony. Because that's how the Batak have always lived. Honey hunters, resin gatherers, shadows that move through mist, guardians of a world that doesn't demand attention, only presence. Now we cross the oceans one last time, back to South America, to a mountain range that seems impossible. Rising straight from the Caribbean coast, the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta in Colombia climbs from sea-level beaches to snow-covered peaks in less than 30 miles. And wrapped around these sacred heights is a people who speak to the clouds, and through them to the earth itself, the Kogi. They call themselves the Elder Brothers, guardians of balance, watchers of the world's hidden heart. Their villages emerge from the fog like visions, thatched roofs and white tunics glowing faintly through morning mists thick with memory. To the Kogi, the fog is not a weather pattern. It is the breath of the Great Mother, a living presence, a pulse. And when that breath grows thin, the world is in danger. Their priests, mamos, spend years in darkness and silence, deep in mountain sanctuaries, learning to read the clouds like scripture. They fast, they meditate, they listen, because the mist is sacred. It carries not just moisture, but messages. On mountaintop shrines hidden in permanent cloud, the Kogi offer prayers wrapped in cotton and leaves, sending intentions into the vapor that flows between realms. For them, every change in the fog, every thinning, every hesitation is a signal, a sign that something in the world below has shifted. And lately, the signs are troubling. Roads creep higher. Tourists climb farther. Outsiders, whom the Kogi call younger brothers, bring cameras, power lines, and good intentions, but fail to understand that even attention can leave scars. So the Kogi retreat deeper into the valleys, further into cloud, not to hide, but to protect, because they believe the Sierra is more than mountain. It is the heart of the world. And if the mists here vanish, the pulse of the planet may falter. Still, high above where most will ever climb, where the clouds gather like breath held in reverence, the Kogi endure, whispering to the sky, listening to the fog, living proof that not all truth is meant to be seen. Some of it must be felt in the silence between clouds. The clouds drift south again, back across the spine of the Andes, to the misty slopes where the Amazon rises into mountain. Here, in the cloud forests of central Peru, live the Yanesha, a people whose homes float above gray valleys, their lives stitched together by fog, silence, and memory. Their villages rise from the mist like small islands in a drifting sea. The houses, built on stilts, seem to hover. Paths vanish just a few steps ahead. Landmarks shift with each passing cloud. In this place, sight gives way to instinct. You don't follow trails, you follow rhythm. The Yanesha plant chakras, forest gardens where coffee, plantains, and yucca grow beneath the slow breath of dripping cloud. They don't mark seasons by a calendar. They mark them by fog, by how long it lingers, by when it lifts. Some crops need cloud to bloom. Others need brief light, and the Yanesha know exactly when and where each will thrive. To them, mist isn't weather, it's kin, a living presence that nourishes, conceals, and protects. Their shamans move through it like fish through water, visions guided by ayahuasca, their minds traveling through veils of vapor into the worlds layered beneath this one. The fog is a road, a bridge between earth and spirit. At the highest shrines, hidden in permanent cloud, they say the air is shared between saints, ancestors, and living beings, that the same breath moves through all. But the roads of the modern world climb higher each year. Loggers, settlers, cell towers where once only birds called. Some Yanesha youth leave for cities, chasing futures made of concrete and screens. And yet, in the upper valleys, where the fog still rises like forest breath, where each evening dissolves into soft, endless gray, the old ways remain, quiet, steady. Because the Yanesha understands something that most have forgotten, that between earth and sky, there is a sacred space, a space made of moisture, memory, and mist. And that's where they choose to live. Our journey takes one final turn, to the highlands of southern Mexico. The Sierra Mixe. Here, where storms from the Gulf crash into mountain spines, fog rolls in like a tide with no moon, and in its gentle grip live the Mixe people, the last tribe in our map of mist. Their homes perch on cloud-swept ridges, adobe walls glowing faintly as they emerge from the white. Fields of corn stretch across slopes so steep they seem to float. Paths vanish, trees blur, and children walk through fog like it's part of their skin. Coffee thrives in this half-light, slowly, sweetly, ripening in the cool drip of mountain mist. To the Mixe, the fog is sacred. They plant with it, pray with it. Their mountaintop shrines are wrapped in cloud all year long, where saints share space with ancient rain spirits, and shamans read vapor like scripture. But the balance here too is shifting. Climate change pulls at the clouds, migration tugs at the youth, and in some valleys, the fog doesn't linger like it once did. Still, in the highest villages, where air hangs thick with silence, and mornings arrive slow and silver, the Mixe endure, farmers of mist, keepers of rhythm, guardians of a space where land and sky never fully separate. And maybe that's what all these people share, whether they live in Asia, Africa, or the Americas. They've all learned to build a life in the quiet between clouds, to treat mist not as mystery or menace, but as medicine, as guide, as home. In a world rushing toward clarity, they remind us that not everything needs to be fully seen. Some truths are meant to stay half hidden. Some wisdom lives best in the fog. If this journey through cloud-wrapped worlds stirred something in you, let the mist carry your support. Leave a like, share it with a fellow explorer, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next expedition into the hidden places most people never see. Thank you for watching. Until we climb again.